Hey guys, this is your boy The Evolution Reviews and Gaming, and please, if you're new, hit that like, comment, and subscribe, and thanks for watching. So we all know that Dark Phoenix was the last X-Men film to come out, so I thought it'd be cool to rank each and every X-Men film in my own opinion. I am including the Deadpool movies because of the strange attachments they have in the X-Men films, especially because of that cameo in Deadpool 2.
Carrying 3 feet off the ground to snatch up the nearest muffin crumb?
But anyway guys, this is my own thoughts. I would love to see your guys' opinions in the comment sections. Just please let me know. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and let's get right into it. Hey guys, thanks again for watching this video. I'm a huge fan of the X-Men universe, so when they announced that Dark Phoenix was going to be the last X-Men film, I had a little uproar because I'm a big fan of the X-Men universe. But I thought, since watching Dark Phoenix, I thought it's time for me to rank each and every movie. This is my own opinion. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. It's just my own personal thoughts about my personal favorite. I love each and every one of these movies. This is just my personal favorite to least favorite. Let's get right into it. Number 12, all the way at the bottom, is X-Men Apocalypse. Now, X-Men Apocalypse has a lot going for it, especially starring the biggest villain the X-Men has ever faced, Apocalypse. And he is the biggest villain they ever had because he's the very first mutant, all-powerful, all-knowing, immortal being. I totally believe that Oscar Isaacs puts in a great performance as Apocalypse, but not even his character could save this film, and I think it's because of his character that this ranks so low. I was very excited to see his character show up in this live action film, but for what I got, it was a little disappointing. His character wants to take over the world because of some reason. It's never really touched upon. He took every single nuke in the entire world and threw it into space. If he was really trying to destroy the world and take it over, wouldn't you use their own weapons against them? But no, he didn't. He just threw them out, which made no sense to me. Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy always put in a good performance each and every movie of this franchise. They always do a great job, but I feel like after X-Men The First Class, Jennifer Lawrence hasn't really been putting in that much work, especially when these movies surround her character. It was good to see the young versions of the X-Men we know and love in this movie, but the problem is that this is the very first fight against a big threat, and it just so happens to be the biggest threat, and they took him out in their first mission. I get it, not easily, but they did take him out. This is the kind of villain you build up towards, like Thanos and the Avengers, but nah, they defeated him in their very first fight, which kind of threw me for a loop. But the one thing I loved non-stop in this movie was Hugh Jackman's cameo as Wolverine. I always love to see his character, and this was a great cameo. I did like his character. The only problem is I wish I kind of saw him a little bit more, but what we did see him, I loved it all, every last minute of it. Moving on to 11 is Dark Phoenix. I don't agree with all the hate that this movie is getting. I thought it was a pretty enjoyable film. I get it that this movie has flaws, but doesn't every movie have flaws? But Jesus, the hate for this movie is unfreaking believable. It had enjoyable parts here and there. I see where they're coming from with all the negative stuff going on in this movie, but as a fan of the Dark Phoenix saga, I do agree that this movie did a little bit of justice. It didn't put it to the side. It was full-fledged out, and I feel like Sophie Turner did a great job as a troubled character with this dark entity living inside of her. Like I said in my spoiler-free review of Dark Phoenix, if you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. I said that the downfall of this movie is the villain. Jessica Chastain is a great actress, but I felt like her character really brought this movie down. I'm not going to say any more about this movie because if I do get into it, it's going to be spoiler territory, and this movie's still out, and I want to give everyone a chance to go and see this movie. So moving on to number 10 is X-Men The Last Stand. Now this movie gets pummeled for a multitude of reasons, but my reasons are, for an ending of a saga of the last 3 movies that we all saw in the beginning, I thought it was a pretty good send-off to the X-Men. But watching it again, I thought it had way too many plot threads put into one movie. Like, they forced in Jean Grey, they forced in the Cure, and then killed people we love off screen. That really annoyed me. Like Scott, he's a huge main player in this movie, so the fact that they killed him off screen and quickly was very off to me. I did like the ending fight scene, that's why I call it the last stand of all these characters we've been following pushed into one big fight. It did feel a little cluttered, but I did think it did pretty good for a last fight. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Juggernaut. I thought he was a little plastic, but I honestly did like his character at certain parts for a Juggernaut character, but I think they could have CGI'd him like they did in Deadpool, just with better CGI. Number 9. X-Men. Now all us superhero action flick movie lovers owe this movie a great debt of gratitude. This movie started everything back in 2000 when I was still wearing Pampers. So growing up watching this movie over and over again, watching Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart kill it in their roles, and finally watching Hugh Jackman kill it in the role he was born to play, Wolverine, drove me crazy as a fan. Watching these movies at a young point really kind of threw my head for a loop, because I thought there was a whole bunch of movies out here like this. But no, this movie was pure awesomeness, especially with the choreography when it comes to the fight scenes. The CGI was a little off, but it was 2000s, they were just getting started. Number 8. Deadpool 2. Deadpool 2 had a lot to live up to through the first movie that came out. I personally think that Deadpool 2 is like a very funny joke played too many times. First time it's funny, the second time it's kind of just annoying. I like Josh Brolin's portrayal of Cable. He's very sympathetic as a character in this movie. I enjoyed his portrayal of the character. But I say the downfall of this movie is Russell. I feel like his character is very misused in this movie. For example, Deadpool 1 is about Wade getting back his girlfriend, and the fact that the entire movie was running off of that and just killed her the next movie right in the beginning was kind of a punch in the face. Like, what was the point of the last movie then if you're just going to kill her off? For what Deadpool said, Deadpool 2 is a family movie. If it was a family movie, it would have did a lot better at saying maybe Russell was like a long lost relative of Vanessa. Maybe it was her little brother or a long cousin, you know, someone actually in the family, giving Deadpool an actual reason to connect with this kid. It was the last memory of Vanessa. Maybe she had the last family member. And would have been cool if it could have worked too. In the comics, Deadpool was in love with Lady Death. That's what I thought they were doing when the fact that he kept talking to Vanessa in the afterlife. Because I thought her character was going to be Lady Death, which would have been a really good Easter egg. The fact that Josh Brolin plays Thanos too, and Thanos was in love with Lady Death. But nah, I just felt like his character was just a dull character that was always annoying and always just there, driving the plot forward. But besides that, I love Domino. I love X-Force, or what remains of the X-Force. 7. X-Men 2 United. What to say about X-Men 2 United? I go so far as saying it's probably the perfect sequel to any other movie I have ever watched. I can't really think about one bad thing about the movie, especially the action sequences. Either the break-in of the X-Mansion when they attack everybody and kidnap the kids, or the beginning awesome sequence of Nightcrawler breaking into the White House. Or Pyro going off the deep end and finally showing his true colors as a very dangerous mutant. 6. X-Men Days of Future Past. Here we have another X-Men film where Hugh Jackman is stealing the show again by being the only one physically who can take the trip back in time to stop these unkillable Sentinels. I was very excited to see the Sentinels because those are big X-Men villains, and I want to see them out in the real screen, and I think they did great in the future and in the past. I think like they did a great job putting the old movies and the new movies into one big movie, and I think it did pretty great on that. Here's a nitpick. Kitty Pryde's power is that she can go walk right through walls and walk through anything, but the fact all of a sudden she can send someone back all the way back in time, but the fact that she has to be standing there the entire time. So you're telling me she was sitting there for a good couple days, just not using the bathroom, not doing anything for the entire time, just sitting here with her two hands right next to Logan's head. That would have been an awkward situation, but I'm glad they cleared it up with Rogue taking her powers and taking her over after Wolverine sliced her a little bit after freaking out back into the past. But I say the best part about this movie is Quicksilver. This is Quicksilver's very first portrayal in the X-Men universe, and I think they did a phenomenal job. Perfect casting, a young kid, funny kid, and the best part about this movie, his scene was insane to me. I was just like, dude, they need to have more of this, and I'm glad they brought it back in X-Men Apocalypse. I gotta say that James McAvoy did a great job in this movie, particularly because he's a broken man. I've never seen Charles Xavier this broken, and it was very different to see him in this kind of role. And the fact that he's a broken man and he's the one depressed when the roles kind of reverse. It was cool to see the fact that he can only get help from the one person he knows that can help him, himself, from the future. And I always liked that part about this movie the most. Number 5, X-Men First Class. Now, X-Men First Class was a huge deal breaker to me. This is everything we know about the old original X-Men put into one movie where they first began. It was cool to see Charles Xavier not as old stiff, all about goodness. You can see him partying and doing his thing. And you can finally see the tragic backstory of Magneto. But I say the best part about this movie would probably be the villain, Kevin Bacon. I was very surprised about his character. This character was very good as a villain. And you can see the ferocity of what he's done to Magneto to make him like this. You can also definitely see the fact that Magneto really wants to kill this man, but you understand that the fact that he also agrees with him too. So he ends up killing him and then taking his spot. But I thought it was very cool to see them start from scratch, especially Charles Xavier, Mystique, Beast, Magneto. I feel like Jennifer Lawrence put in the best performance of her life in this movie, and only this movie. And the fact that she didn't pull in nearly enough work in this movie than she did in any other movie that she was in as Mystique, as far as I know. Number 4, X-Men Origins Wolverine. I have absolutely no idea why the heck everyone hates this movie so much. I honestly think this is a very good movie and does some justice to Wolverine's background. I wasn't the biggest fan of the whole brother thing going on, but it did give a type of flavor in this movie that I kind of liked. I mean, I get the problems of this movie. I wasn't a big fan of the love fest that was going on. It kind of felt a little forced, so we can barely get to know her before she actually got killed. So I didn't really feel anything when we thought that Victor killed her. But I was all about him getting revenge on him. Even though he was his brother, I still wanted to see that fight though. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Deadpool coming at the end. I understand people's frustrosity when it comes to this character, but I didn't think he did so bad. I liked his character because he did it some justice when it comes to an actual villain. He wasn't the best Deadpool. Okay, let's be honest. He was a very bad Deadpool, but the thing is, they could have made him any other villain. They didn't have to make him Deadpool. But I think it did what it's supposed to do at the end. Make a seriously bad villain that they had to team up on. And I was cool with that. But you're telling me that you didn't clap your hands or just go in full rage mode when you saw the fact that Wolverine busted out of that water all berserker mode. That was epic. I honestly don't know why the people hate this movie so much. Even when it comes to the action was crazy. I get the CGI was a little off, but still, when it comes to the action, they were freaking on it. Especially the parts where Wolverine's going full berserker mode. Maybe that's my own opinion. Anyway guys, number 3, Deadpool. Deadpool has done something that no other Marvel movie has done. An R rating, and a very good R rating. But where this movie really shines is the fact that Ryan Reynolds was actually born and crafted to play this character. This character was literally made for him, okay? He played this character and totally redeemed himself after what the heck happened in X-Men Origins. And the fact that he was making this character for the last 11 years, forcing people and asking people if he can help him make this movie, and finally, it's worth it. He got to keep the suit, he got to play an amazing character that he's always wanted, and finally redeem himself after what the heck happened to him in X-Men Origins. He's been having some bad luck when it comes to superhero movies, so the fact that he's finally got it right, and really right, the fact that it earned a sequel, I think he did it perfectly here. So honestly, it was kind of a straight rap to me. Like, he messed up his face, he's immortal, but now he's going for vengeance to kill the last guy who made him look like that. And I thought Ajax was a good villain, actually. Funny and perfectly made to rival Deadpool. Even though he can die, he still made up a good fight when it comes to Deadpool. He destroyed him in the fight, so I thought that was great. And they finally completely ripped Colossus out of the comics and put him on the screen. They literally did that. They took him right out of the comic books and put him in the movie. So that's what kind of threw me off, thinking that this was actually its own separate universe, for the fact that Colossal was in this in a totally different kind of character. So I'm just like, dude, this is a totally different universe, but he keeps referencing other X-Men films and referencing everything. So I do believe that Ryan Reynolds really knocked that out of the park with this character and totally, completely embodied the fact of Deadpool. Number 2, The Wolverine. The Wolverine is a great sequel when it comes to X-Men Origins. I know it's not exactly a sequel, but it's basically Wolverine 2. Honestly, I think Hugh Jackman completely looked the part, completely 100% in this movie. He looked the best, brawlicness and everything all intact, making a perfectly good Wolverine character. I feel like the fact that everyone's after him, and it actually made it interesting, the fact that she took away his healing ability, so I was nervous for a while, but the fact that once he got it back, I was like, no, we're all good. But what really threw me for a loop is when they cut his adamantium claws. I did not see that coming. That was the biggest twist in the movie. I totally did not see that coming. But the fact is, when he grew his regular bone claws right back, that was kind of a twist to me, because I didn't really understand that, because the next movie after that he had his adamantium claws back in Days of Future Past, so that didn't really make any sense. I like the fact that they took the accuser going after him, and the thing that really kind of threw me off was the fact that he was dating that girl. She was like 7 years old and he's like 240, but sure, I guess no one references this. That's the only thing that threw me off. I like that Jean was kind of haunting him in the end. That was kind of a good kind of send off to her character. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, he did kill her, but that made a good, story change in the movie. Anyway guys, the last one, numero uno, is, it had to be Logan. Logan hit me like no other movie has ever hit me before. We've been following Hugh Jackman for years as his character, so when the fact that he said that this will be his last portrayal of Wolverine, I literally had to look in the mirror and say, is this for real? Because without him playing this character, who else is going to play it? And the fact is, I don't want anyone else playing this character. But you clearly see that Hugh Jackman and Patrick Stewart are killing it in their roles. This is their last time playing their roles, and they put everything into these characters. So the last portrayal of these characters was very, very dark and very emotional. I never felt so on my edge of my seat in a Marvel movie than I've seen in this movie. I was actually worried for their well-being, and they did a better job when it comes to Logan actually being in danger of dying than any other movie. I had that kind of sickening feeling in the Wolverine, but this really kicked it up to a 10. Because he didn't get his healing factor upgraded or anything. No. It was down and wearying on him. And he was already dying as it is. And this is probably the best acting of performance of Hugh Jackman in pretty much any film I've seen him in. And I'm not a crier. So the fact that this movie had me tearing up for weeks on end, I was like, wow, this really is the end, man. That hit me like no other movie ever did. And the little girl that plays Logan's daughter did a great job, especially the emotional scenes. You can really see how it's kind of impacting her. She's still an animal, but she's also a little girl that's scared. So meeting her father for the first time was probably nerve-wracking. The fact that he didn't even know she was his daughter until she pulled out those claws. And man, when they surprised me when they killed Charles Xavier, they brought us all the way up of happiness and dropped us so far down under the ground when it came to the darkness. I honest to God think that this is the very best X-Men film that ever came out. But what do you guys think? Please let me know in the comment section. Please, if you're new, hit that like, comment, and subscribe. I love ya, and I'm out ya.